Good evening and welcome to Between the Lanes, episode number 109. I'm Ron.
I'm Shane.
And again, welcome to the show. It's Wednesday night, 9/11, September. Shane has survived the hurricane winds and waters off the lovely shores of North Charleston, South Carolina.
I don't know if we got lovely shores in North Charleston, so we'll say folly.
Okay. But you survived and the electricity never went off and
Nope.
minimal damage, and I guess that's good for what it was or what it could have been.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, welcome to Between the Lanes, episode number 109. You can find us on YouTube. Slot Racer is the channel. We now have 109 episodes up, some how-to episodes, and some special episodes. On Facebook, the page is Between the Lanes. And we have some race results from last weekend. The winning report was the third annual Legends race at Dazer Raceway, South Bend, Indiana. And Brian Meharry has put this race on every year for the last 3 years. And it's to honor some of the legends of the past that have passed away. And so this year was the third installment of that. Dave Gearing was the latest legend to be added to the trophy, and it was only fitting that this race was held at his raceway. So in the hobby stock class, they had like 26 entries. Dennis Clark was the winner. Brian Meharry was second, and Dave Garino was third. There was a 5-lap difference between first through eighth, so it was a really tight race. And then in the 4.5-inch class, the shortest guy in the picture there, ball cap, Dan Myers, he was your winner over Tony Mavalota and Dave Garino. And this was another pretty tight race. I didn't write down, but I think Dan won by like 1 lap, and then the next 2 or 3 were on the same lap.
I think Dan and the second place person were on the same lap. He won by track position.
I think you're correct. And then the next 3 or 4 guys were on the same lap, a lap behind. And yeah, it was super tight. So, and then in the Retro Can-Am race, Dave Garino was the winner with Rick Stegan second and Jeff Strauss first. They wound up raising $1,700 or over $1,700 for River Bend Cancer Services there in South Bend. And, Brian did a super job of collecting lots of stuff to raffle off and raise money. So, there was between probably 26 and 30 guys there. So if you divide 1,700 by that, then that's kind of an average of what I guess guys bought in raffle tickets. I mean, I'm sure some guys bought more than others, but
right,
it was still a pretty good sum of money to lay out and raise for a good cause. So Buena Park Raceway, they had their wing car racing last weekend. Phoenix Open class, Roy was the winner. JB was second. And Rick Lynn was third. In the one-motor box stock class, or one-motor box class, one-motor 12, I guess, probably what they call it. Sam Rackham was the winner. Steve Hilton was second, and Rodney H. was third. And then two-motor open, they had 2 racers. And so it was 2-motor, 2-racer open. Forest Watchers was the winner, and Earl Anderson was second. Penn, Ohio started off, I'll back up. I missed my notes here. Penn, Jersey was at the race place in New Jersey. And then the Xfinity class, Jerry Herbert Jr. was the winner. Joe M. second. Matt Bruce was third. And then in the Cup class, Matt Bruce was the winner. Jerry Herbert Sr. was second. And Joe M. was third. So kind of like the same podium, except the Herberts switched out. So that was kind of unique. Penn, Ohio kicked off their series at Mark's Model World, Canton, Ohio. Can-Am was won by Willie Custer. Second was Rick Bernardo Jr., and Mike Muir was third. And F1, Willie Custer was the winner again with Rick Bernardo Jr. second, and Greg Fox in third. And stock car class, I got to look here. Rick Jr. was the winner, Willie was second, and Mike Muir was third. Wasn't a very good picture. But. So AWRA was at Archdale, and these guys were there to win some Archies. Isn't that what they call that? The Archie?
Yeah, it's Archie. Yeah.
Okay. So Outlaw Legends was won by Guy Spalding. Timmy Bottom second, and Bobo was third. Sportsman class, Timmy was the winner, standing out front of everybody. I love it. The Guy Spalding second, Bobo was third. And then in stock car, Guy Spalding was the double winner of the day. Timmy was second, and Bobo was third. And did you see Timmy doing the dance?
Yeah, I seen the live feed or whatever.
I was trying to figure out a way to have that on the show so we could. But, I didn't know if
he had fun. He had a good weekend.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. It's always fun watching him dance. So.
Yeah, he's either that or sleeping.
Yes. The USRA Wing Car Nationals are underway as we speak, as we tape this show. Earlier today, they ran Group F, and Jason Holmes was the winner. Matt Taylor second. Paul Peterson was third. 10 entries. They ran 2 races, 5 guys in each. Overall lap totals made the difference. And then as we speak, the One Motor Box B Main has concluded, and Roger Schmidt won that race. So next week's show, we will have the complete rundown of all the classes from the USRA Wing Car Nats at PA Watson's. If you're looking for links, because they're doing live feeds on the YouTube, go to Slot Car Raceway LLC on Facebook. Slot Car Raceway LLC on Facebook, and you will find the links to the live happenings. And winner, chicken dinner.
It's Sunday.
Okay, so this Sunday, this from here on out, this week to Sunday, USRA Wing Car Nats taking place down in Houston, Texas. The annual Sanyo Retro Race is happening at Chicagoland Raceway. Florida Slot Car Series is at Fast Eddie's. The Ohio Challenge Cup Series is at AB Raceway, I think it is, or AB Slots Shop or something in Elyria.
Slots.
Okay. East Coast Flexi Series is in action this weekend. And it's the third and final race of the NorCal GT Summer Series, and that's at Fast Time Raceway. Next weekend, the weekend of the 21st, we got BRS Retro Summit at Mark's Model World. USCA's in action, Rocky Mountain Retro Racing Association's in action, Retro East is in action. F2000 is at Alpha Raceway, and Mid-South is at Turn and Burn. And the 28th of September, that weekend, we've got FNRS at Race-O-Rama, North Baltimore, Ohio. The Retro Rumble at Fast Eddie's in Pinellas Park, Florida. And Texas Retro at Dallas Slot Cars. And that's that. Just a couple other notes. Flexi Flat signups are still open. That race is the weekend of November 2nd at Mid-America Naperville. I think there's 25 or 28 guys signed up. Probably going to be a couple more before it's over with for sure. But Ernie said he has mailed out the bodies to those who have entered and paid thus far. So they're in the mail on the way to people. And he's going to be gone for 2 weeks. So if you're going to, I think he's leaving the first weekend of October.
Yeah, he had it posted. I remember reading something about it.
On Facebook on the Flexi Flats 2019 page. So if you get signed up and get paid here in the next week or 2 or 3, your bodies will be mailed out before he leaves. And if you wait to sign up a little bit later, then your bodies won't go out until he gets back from Italy. Or not Italy. He's going overseas. I don't know where he's going.
We'll just say
Um,
Japan.
yeah, I don't know where he's going.
Um,
And he's also maybe making some different arrangements. Maybe he might send some bodies to Roger, and if they start
Roger,
he's
ship
gone,
them.
then Roger can ship them. So
Gotcha.
I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll
'cause
make that.
I still haven't got. Remember, we were talking before we
Yeah,
started. Yeah, you haven't got yours. I haven't got.
yeah. And I talked to Ernie earlier today, and he said that asked me if I'd got my bodies, and I said no, I hadn't got them yet. So I expect them.
Yeah, and see, I don't know if I'd have got them anyway. I don't know how messed up with the storm or whatnot.
Right.
Because they're still cleaning up down here, but for the most part, everything's back to normal. Other than you go through neighborhoods or you see areas where trees are still down and just people haven't really gotten to it yet.
And then Flexi, we talked about on the last few shows, probably not every show, but the last few weeks we've talked about Flexi Fest West 2020 Fast Tracks in California, February 21st and 22nd, and there is now a Facebook page for that.
Is there?
And it's called Flexi Fest West 2020.
That's a tough one to say.
It's a mouthful. So, that's kind of like all my notes, I think. Yeah. So,
Any giveaways?
no giveaways.
No giveaways this week?
No giveaways.
Gotcha.
Nothing for you to win.
I'm one out.
I know.
I'm going to cash that in that Thursday whenever Roger picks me up. I'm going to tell him, hey,
Oh, yeah, he yells you a pair of tires, doesn't he?
can I get a pair of tires to run in the black and red lane?
There you go.
So,
Practice tires.
yep. I'm sure we'll probably go get breakfast. 'Cause that's what we did last time. And then head to the track. And I'll unpack everything. So, be here before you know it.
So I had a question earlier today asking me, well, the question was, what set screws do you like to use in your, well, yeah, just, okay. What, what kind of set screws do you like to use? And I'm thinking, okay. So, and then it said long, short, hollow, non-hollow. And then I replied, in gears or tires? Because,
Yeah.
it's like, well, I don't know which. So my response was that I prefer to use the short, non-hollow set screws in like my gears.
Right.
And then for my tires, tires are a tricky one because a lot of times you buy tires and after you put them on the car or put them on the Tri Tour a couple of times, they kind of get rounded out. So when I replace them, I just replace them with a non-hollow, like 1/8 inch set screw
Gotcha.
because I have a lot of them. And then in my gears, I like to run the short, non-hollow screw because I run both like inline cars and angle winder cars. So
Right.
the problem with the inline car sometimes, if you run the long set screw, the 1/8 inch long one,
Right.
it'll stick out. And if you don't have your motor shaft trimmed, sometimes that shaft will hit the screw. So you put the short screw in there, it fixes the problem. So in the past, I usually seem to always have a few of the short ones laying around. So
Right.
I would take the long screw out and put the short one in. And sometimes I didn't have to because depending on what motor I ran, if I trimmed the shaft or not.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a problem with like running inline cars and the angle winder cars and running like, say, ProSound FK or Scorpion motors. You don't have to really trim them for the flexi cars. You put the pinion on and the pinion goes up flush at the end of the shaft.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gear.
Or if you do, it's very minute.
Right. Then you start putting them in F1 and Can-Am cars, and the shaft's a little long. You got to start trimming them up. So, again, I'm not fully converted over to everything having short screws, but someday maybe I will. But
Right.
and then was asked where do you get the shorter screws, and Parma used to have them because Parma used to put them in all their slot sprocket gears for years, and then I think Mid America Products has them now.
I was gonna say years ago, I used to like Ralph sold some set screws that at the bottom of the set screw it had like teeth.
That's a knurled. That's a what they call a knurled cup set
Is
screw.
it? Because I used to run those on my tires.
Yeah, those are really the best set screw to run
Right.
because they kind of lock a little bit or grip better to the axle from
Yeah.
the flat
Because
spot.
Bobby had them, and he said they're a little oversized, so it's almost like if you had a gear that was on the verge of stripping, if you
Mm-hmm.
started it, it would work good. And he
Okay.
gave me a couple pair of them, and I bought a couple packs, I think, from Ralph before. I still got them like a Ziploc bag because I got them marked.
When I need those, I always get those from McMaster Car.
Right. I'm sure that's probably where he got them from as
And I
well.
think a box of 100's like $8 or $10 or something.
But
It's maybe $10.
I
So
ran those, and then I got, like you said, I got short, like stainless steel ones that I got from John at the Nats. But
yeah, well,
before that,
see,
same
those,
thing. I would look at like a whole bunch of them and just like pick out the short ones. Like, yep,
yeah, those short screws. I think the Cahosa gears, or maybe it's the
right.
Cayman
I
slash.
think the hose, yeah,
They come with a short set screw.
yep.
So
Because Paul turned them on to me. Because Paul was like, hey, look at these. I think that was that Sunday for the Eurosport race. I was just kind of hanging out,
but I
talking to
don't.
everyone.
I mean, many, many, many years ago, I went the whole hollow set screw thing on everything and
Right.
looking for that, miracle weight savings, which at the end of the day make a bit of difference.
But
So
that's just like some people are surprised that I don't run flat axles. I
right,
still run round axles, and they're like, "You don't ever lose a tire." It's like it's gonna sound like I'm being a smart ass, but it's like if you make sure everything's tight, you won't
right,
have that,
right.
and stuff. And they were like, "You really don't?" And I'm like, "I've never ran. No, I think the only time I've ran flat axles was at the Division One Nats I went to, and that was on one car,
Right.
and it was only because we were changing tires
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, and how I had it set up, it just
Spaced
worked
and everything.
better.
Right.
Yeah, it worked better with flat. So
Right. Um, like when I ran Eurosports and open cars, I always ran flatted axles and
right,
always ran a knurled cup set screw. Because I remember um, open cars and the tracks kept getting faster, and we got to a point where it's like the set screws would just loosen themselves. I mean, because of vibration and stuff.
right, yeah, that high RPM.
Right. So I remember me and Randy went to a race, I think in Chicago, like back in '96 or something. And he had some stuff loosen up, and I'm like, I think it's time to get some knurled cup set screws, and so we got some, and that fixed the problems.
That problem.
Yeah.
That's just like I've talked to some of the Eurosport guys, and I've asked them, what they prefer: 2 millimeter axle or 332nd. And I've had some say, oh, well, like this class and this class will do 2 millimeter, but I think a majority of the guys are running like 332nd still in the Eurosport just because of breakage.
Right.
Because I can only imagine. I mean, would you use a set screw on a 2 millimeter axle, or would you just epoxy it and get it balanced?
Well,
I'd be afraid of over tightening and possibly bending. I mean, I know it's hard to feel, but
on a
it's
2 millimeter axle.
yeah,
Um. Okay, so like you said, epoxy it on. The only problem with epoxy stuff is
it gets hot and gets fragile.
no. It's just like if you lose a gear, then you got to change the whole
Yeah, the whole assembly. That's true.
assembly. Yeah, which I mean,
Yeah.
that can be good and it can be bad.
Right.
So you just have to be prepared for it if you're going to do that. But I guess I mean on a 2 millimeter, I would probably run a set screw and epoxy the gear. The whole assembly.
Do you even run a set screw with the epoxy or just epoxy?
I'd still run a set screw with
Would
epoxy.
you? So you'd run both?
Yeah, I don't think the little bit of weight kills you, and it's just another.
I mean, if anything, it may even help balance it out.
It's another.
Security.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I messaged to Gugu before about it because I seen pictures of where he was epoxying his own gears, and he said obviously in Brazil the stuff he used, his words, very expensive.
Right. Well, I mean, like I would use a hollow set screw.
Right, and just
and then pack the epoxy down in.
Down inside it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I said it's not gonna it's not gonna affect the bounce hugely. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But you don't need an extra long set screw hanging out.
Right.
If you got everything epoxy.
Yeah. I go through my phases where I trim some of the weight off and everything else, And some people say, oh, they can't really tell a difference. But like this year at the Flexipalooza at Mark's,
Mm-hmm.
I balanced all my tires. I balanced all of Bobby's tires. I balanced some stuff on the car. Well, I had time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I asked Bobby. By the time I got done balancing his tires, I was like, I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah. I mean, you think, oh, this should
Okay,
take
so
two.
do you think it made a difference?
For me personally, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it could just be like my mind. I felt balancing everything out as far as, shortening the set screws and shortening the set screws in the tires. And, I mean, the hardest thing to overcome, was when they marked the tires, it was different amounts. You know what I mean? You can have one tire that had like a big blob and the other tire would have like a small blob.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, that's weight. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I balanced all my tires and I took notes on basically like what we do with the big car.
Yeah.
Just I figured out which tire the car liked the most, and that's what I went with.
Right.
And I mean, I just felt that it really smoothed the car out. I did it one time too. The first time I went to Tracy's, whenever he was open, and when there was an F&RS race,
right,
I kind of did the whole kit and caboodle or whatever on the car. And there was a guy there who made the comment, your car is one of the quietest cars here. You don't even hear it. And I don't know if it's just because everything was synced together or what, but I mean, I've balanced stuff on cars before and it's just like, this thing's horrible, and then grab the backup car that has nothing balanced and it's just like, all right, that's it.
That's, well, I mean, we've had the discussion before and
yeah.
I mean, most people say like, it doesn't show up on the clock. It's not like I went over and I went 455 and I balanced my tires and now I'm going 450.
Right.
No one's ever
For me, it just made the car feel smoother. It wasn't any faster.
Right.
I just felt like it was more, I guess the good word's forgiving, you know?
Okay.
So it just, how everyone kind of looks for that feel for the car. And it's just, I didn't run it without, so I don't know the car could have felt the same, but I liked it. I mean, I felt that as far as a big race, I feel like I had some good, my cars I felt were about as good as I could get them,
Okay.
I mean, it's extra work, but then when you're sitting there, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, Bobby always laughs at me because Bobby says I always use my time very well because he can't sit there and not do anything.
Right.
He says he's got to be doing something. Then he looks at me and I'm eating a bag of chips and talking and cutting up and having fun, And I'm just told him, I was like, I have my races where it's like I go, 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 go. And then I have my races where it's just like, oh, Mark's got more hot dogs. They go get a hot dog. Yeah.
More pasta salad.
Yeah. Oh, you're looking, more macaroni and cheese. And
my 16th.
He's looking at me because I'm eating, and he was like, your stuff must be good. And I was like, I'm having fun. Then I remember he's like, will you help me? And I was like, yeah, what do you need? And we went through his car and he went out there and he was good. And, by the end of, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I was like, your car good? Yeah. Your car good? Yeah. And Friday we didn't have to kill ourselves,
Right.
So got to socialize and talk to people.
Cool.
But yeah, but as far as balancing tires, yeah, like I said, I think I had 6 sets, and I think he either had 4, and I did them all.
Right.
And I was like, you got to run these. And he's like, I got to run them all. And I'm like, well, yeah, because now we got to, see which ones are coming in faster and which, all this kind of, are they falling off or what's the deal? You got to run them in. So.
Yep.
It's fun. I really enjoyed it. Now it's kind of like, all right, now we have to do this all over again in another month and a half. We'll be at the Flexi Flats.
Yep. Yep, thereabouts.
I'll be there Thursday. Fly in Thursday morning, fly out Sunday midday. So
Cool.
other than
Anything
that,
else? Any other subjects?
not really. I haven't raced in like 2 months. So yeah, so it's like, I guess I'm good to have on the show because I could find something to talk about. But as far as race reports or anything like that,
Okay. So Pro Slot came out with a new motor called the Crazy Horse.
that a drag motor?
Yeah, basically it's a drag motor.
Okay.
You could probably okay. So basically, it's a 16D
Hmm.
motor, sized motor. Same can as they use now. Same end bell. The only difference is they went and tooled what I call full size Poly Neo 16D size magnet.
I gotcha. So
And
it's a
like having,
stronger magnet.
yeah, they have incredible Gauss. I mean, like if a ceramic stock magnet that comes in those motors Gauss like
4 or 5.
well in the can or pairing the can like
Yeah.
950 I guess we'll say
Right.
900 to 950 is probably average, at least on my meter.
Right.
Yeah, these things are like close to
1,000.
1100. Yeah, they're over 1,000.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Since we're talking about weight, do you think they're lighter than a ceramic magnet?
yeah, I think they have to be because they're like plastic
Just the material. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just sitting there thinking, since we were on the topic about weight and balancing.
Okay, so like I haven't weighed them, because it's like, okay, so some people said, well, are they road race motors? And I'm like, well, yeah, you can road race them, but I don't know where yet because no one's like said we're going to run a class for these motors.
Right.
But they're 40 turns of 28 gauge wire versus the Super 16Ds are 60 turns of 28 gauge wire. So they're like 20 winds less. Same blank, way stronger magnets. If you road race them or try to road race them, you're probably going to have to run at least one pinion size smaller, maybe two.
Just keep them spun up from the heat.
Yeah, because they just generate so much heat.
Were they produced as a drag racing motor, or were they?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's what they were produced for.
Gotcha.
So they're like 2695. Yeah, they're definitely faster than a Super 16D.
Stock.
Where it fits in as far as what's the next I mean, there's so many motors.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, where's this motor fit in at? And I'm like, well, for bracket racing or index racing.
Yeah, I have no clue when it comes to that stuff.
It finds a home. And I said, I guess if you wrote rules and you had a good tech guy, you could run a heads-up class with them.
I mean, that's the thing is, would you really classify a motor as far as which is faster than which if you're doing bracket racing, or would you want to be more on the...
No, bracket racing, you're just looking to make a car.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking whenever he was asking, or, whenever they were asking.
There's guys that like running fast bracket cars.
Yeah.
There's guys that like running slow bracket cars, and there's guys that just like, I'm going to take this motor and put it in this car, and they run.
That's what I got.
And then, okay, this is a 120 car or 110.
Yeah, try to make it distant as
possible. So then the trick is just making it run consistent. So, but if you're index racing, where you have a dial in,
right,
then you have
to hit the dial every time or close to it.
Right. So, I mean, there's 99, I don't know. There's probably more indexes than I know about, but you see like 990, 110, or sometimes you'll see 110, 120. So, I know 990 is a pretty big index class. So, I don't know what kind of times these run. And then the whole time thing gets thrown away because is it 1/8 mile, 1,000 foot, or quarter?
Yeah. Well, the craziest thing still that I have ever seen is last year, me, Bobby, and George go and we watch NHRA at Charlotte
Right.
track strip. It wasn't a 4 wide; it was only the 2 wide, and they got the big boys and all that kind of stuff, and they got the lower classes and all. So we were hanging out watching, and it's like, all right, well, these are the bracket races because they got it staged up, and then all nice cars. Well, then we see these other cars come up, and I'm watching, and I'm just in my head, I'm thinking, all right, I've had 4 beers, so I mean, I'm having fun. I got a good buzz going or whatnot. And these cars are on the line. They're just raising all kinds of cane. And they launch hard wheel stands, and then they go like 20 feet and then just stop. And I'm like, did it break? And Bobby's like, no, that's like dial-in or index racing. I'm like, why did they leave so hard? It just baffled me that it was just hurt and then hurt. I'm just like,
because it's cool. Right. It's cool.
I mean, beautiful cars, but it's just like you go 20 feet and it just stops. I would go crazy. And then it just picks back up. What do they call it? Like a stall inverter or something like that?
Yep.
I'm sure they got a name.
Yeah, there's computerized stuff too. I mean,
yeah, and I liked it, but I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Because it's just like I think we talked about it on a show before. Maybe they do that because they don't want to throw their timing off or what. But I think we've talked about it before. But still, I guess it's cool, but I just don't get it.
So
my whole life is when you put your foot in it, it's there until you stop.
Back to the subject of, where's this motor fit in and da 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 da. And
yeah,
it's like we've got so many different motors that bracket racing is one thing, but I think drag racing could possibly be bigger if there was more classes based on a particular motor. Like you could have a Crazy Horse heads-up class.
Right.
You could have a Hawk 7 heads-up class, or Phoenix heads-up class, or a Pro Slot FK heads-up class, or
got to be that motor.
Yeah, Pro Slot 16D heads-up class. Yeah, it just has to be that motor, right?
Heads up, fastest car wins. No dialing, no nothing.
Right, that's heads-up racing. But at the same time,
however they do it, do they have a pro tree in drag racing for slot cars?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like saying, I know very little when it comes to.
I mean, some heads-up racing is done on a pro tree, some's done on a full tree. It depends on the class rules. It's just like road racing. There's just a bunch of different rules out there.
Gotcha.
So
I've watched some of it before. Being at the track, and they've been running drag races.
Right. So, like, heads-up racing is kind of like what we do when we go road racing.
Right.
And then, to me, like, bracket racing is like a handout motor race.
Yeah.
Similar, but not exactly similar. But
right.
I guess in the terms of dollars and cents, like a handout race and a bracket race, you'll spend less money because you're not searching for the fastest motor, trying 20 different pairs of tires, blah, 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 blah. Where if heads-up racing and regular racing, you're going to spend money trying to build those fastest motors in that class.
Oh, yeah.
Where we are always about tires and trying this and trying that.
Yep.
So there's some similarities there, but still big differences. But
I got to kind of get back in the groove of things. It's been so long. I'll be at the Turn-and-Burn race.
I mean, for all I know, you could take your flexi car to a drag race and run bracket race with it.
Yeah, I think some guys have did that before.
I mean, they might complain about your body style or something, but
yeah, or they'll probably pick on me. But it's like, hey,
well, it'd probably be like, you can run, we don't care, we're going to take your money. But then if you take their money, then they're bitching about it.
Yeah, I guess.
You don't look like a drag car.
Yeah.
So, and that was another thing too. Had a couple of drag people ask me about the weighted guide, and if I thought a weighted guide would make difference in the drag car. And I said, well, the only way you'd want nose weight in your drag car is if you're popping the guide out, or you're having contact problems because you're kind of lifting the guide out and
getting airborne.
Right. And I said, so maybe in a no bar car, but you just put weight on top of the chassis. I mean, the theory behind the weighted guide is the weight's down low and it doesn't affect the handling on a road course car. Drag racing, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, it's a straight line.
So if you're drag racing and you're having lift problems with the nose, or just stick some weight on the
Guide tongue.
front of the chassis, or go from your aluminum guide nut to a brass guide nut, or maybe double stack 2 or 3
Guide nuts.
guide nuts on there.
Right.
Because like I said, that doesn't matter on a drag car because you're not handling.
Yeah.
You're just going straight. And sometimes it's very difficult to go straight because you'll see cars do weird things and stuff. I mean,
I've seen them before, just at the local, or not local, like being at some of the races, and Friday night they'll have a drag race. It's just like, oh, let's check this out.
right.
So.
Yep.
Or was it, didn't Walker have one that didn't make the run off and ended up hitting the wall? I think he said he spent.
Yeah, I think, that happens. I mean, like I seen you're froze up. Don't know if that's good or bad. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. He froze up and had to relieve and re-enter or whatever. So
First technical error ever. 109 episodes.
yeah, first one on your end for sure. We've had a couple freeze ups before, but I think it's the first time you did. But
Storm. It's the storm's fault.
yeah, we were talking about guys trashing cars on the drag strip. I remember probably the funniest drag racing story I can. Les Wright was going up to a race, wing car race in Detroit.
Yeah, he told me this.
Bob Cincinnati picked up his brand new shiny drag car and got up there to Detroit and, hey, Andy, which lane's got the glue in the end? Well, the lane against the wall. Yeah, guess what? There was no glue down there, and that car went in 3,000 pieces when it hit the wall. Oh, it was the other lane that had the glue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the guys I talk to, because I'm friends with some of the guys at drag race, just the amount of money they spend on these cars.
Well,
and then there's some of them, they look, I mean,
right. I mean, I know there's some guy out there that gets like $300 or $400 just for a body.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've seen some of them, and it's pretty sweet, but it's just like,
okay. So drag racers, okay, so like drag racers are different than us in the sense we build so many cars and we race them and then we destroy them and then we build some replacements or whatever.
Right.
They build a car and then they build another car and they build another car and they just keep building cars.
Yeah. Because
they never destroy anything, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
at least they hope not to.
Right. I mean, for the most part, they hardly ever tear stuff up unlike we do.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they can build something, run it, put it in their box till next week, clean the tires, glue them up, put it on the track, boom. I mean, it's not, I got to take my car apart, flatten the chassis, take my motor out, put a different motor in, or change, their cars are like low maintenance compared to ours. But if they're running like the really fast stuff, like AA funny car and stuff, that stuff's a little more.
Yeah. Well, it's just like with real racing. You're doing, as higher up you go, more work you got to put in.
Right. So, I mean, and that's one of the reasons that slot car drag racing is popular. I mean, to me, the two biggest reasons is you don't have to go home and thrash on your stuff, getting it ready for the next week.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
And they race for usually cash payouts or.
But the craziest things that always got me was like 200 entries.
Right. 200 cars.
Yeah, 200 cars. And in my head, I'm thinking, there 200 people there? And it's like, no, Shane, they can enter like 8 or 10 cars. Oh, because I could have sworn there was only like 20 people there.
But see, like on average, okay, so you say, 200 cars.
Right.
So on average, to go through the first round, they're going to run 100 seconds of run time on average. I mean, some cars are under a second, some are above.
Right.
200 cars means 100 races. So a second a race, that's 100 seconds. So it's like an hour and a half to run 200 cars. actual run time. Now, when you get the 60-second clock involved,
Yeah.
turn that into a couple hours.
Yeah, I've seen that one time, and I'm
Okay.
like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's so much time. It's, I guess
So
that time's
then,
up. The green's on."
yeah, so I mean, they can run 200 cars through in, like a couple hours, where for us to run 200 cars through, it takes forever.
Yeah, it's 2 days.
Yeah.
It'd be fun, but I mean,
Right. Yeah, because if you had 200 cars, I got to do this real quick with the calculator. 200 cars divided by 8, that's 25 races. Okay, so 25 races.
I hate to be in the amen on that one.
Yeah, so 25
Just
races.
go home.
Okay, so you got 16 minutes and 14 minutes. 30 times 30. And we got to divide that by 60. Yeah, that's like 12 and a half hours.
To run
200 cars. Slot car. Like if we went to a race and we had 250 cars and we ran 8 2-minute heats, and with the time in between, it'd take 12 and a half hours.
Still ain't bad, but it's a long day.
It's a long day.
You probably qualify one day and start racing the next day.
Yeah.
Probably have to
Because it would take you almost 2 hours to qualify 200 cars.
Right. Good time.
So, but yeah, I mean, like, okay, so that's 660 cars down there at the big money race at Batesville.
Right.
It took 30 hours to start to finish, they said, give or take.
Yeah. I'm sure it was fun, though.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, one of those races, I think George had some friends that went to like a big money race like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he said one of them won the light money and got like $1,200.
Yeah.
And then the other one won something else, reaction time or something like that, or whatever they, because I guess light money and reaction time is the same thing, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then.
Oh, you might have been closest to their dial-in.
Yeah, or maybe that was because he said one of them won this, one of them won that.
Yeah.
And between the two of them, they had like $3,500, and there were so many people there, and they already won $3,500. They didn't stay to race. They were like,
leave.
Yeah, they were like they had $3,500. They entered their cars, which was X amount of dollars, but one of them won light money, and the other one won this, and they were just like, we're good.
Right.
I was like, hey, yeah, okay, as long as you're happy and that's what you want to do. So.
Yep. So different strokes for different folks. Like I said, when I get to the point where I can't run around the track.
We've already had this talk.
Lane changes.
You might be having early retirement. They keep putting.
I'll go drag racing. Take my big easy chair.
Yeah. All you need your easy chair and your notebook just so you can write numbers and keep your numbers. I've watched some of the guys, or I got friends that do it.
Right.
They got their notebook and they get her all dialed in.
Yep.
It's funny we're talking about drag racing because before you called, me and Bobby were talking about they got the pro mods the first weekend in October at Darlington.
Right.
And Bobby hasn't seen too many pro mod races. And I was like, I might go.
Right.
So I can do some pro mods.
Yep.
But other than that, as you would say, that's really all I got.
See, if you lived in Indy the last 2 weekends, you could have went to the.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've had it busy.
And then the Brickyard.
Did you go to the drag race? No, you ended up not coming.
You know what? I was good. Okay, so like I had talked before, I love Friday night qualifying.
Yeah, it's under the lights, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
what do they call it? The Night of Nitro or Night of Flames or something like that?
Night of Fire or something. I don't know. So I haven't been down there for several years. Usually it's
How far is it from the house?
Hour and a half.
Not bad.
No.
Yeah, 'cause, you're not going to drink or anything, so.
No. But, the last several years, it's just been hotter than hell. And
right.
I'm going to go out and sit in the baking sun and sweat. But this year the weather was really nice.
That's all part of the experience, though.
I know. Yeah, whatever. So I was gonna call Terry and see if he wanted to go, and
right.
Friday came and I was just like, I'm not going down.
Yeah, because I remember, because Because then, like I seen, Cup was at Indy, and I was like, wow, they got a lot of racing going on that week.
So that's on one too. I mean, I always can get garage passes and stuff to go to the Brickyard, but I've done that one time. I've done that twice, and it's always so freaking hot down there. It's like
Bobby hates it sometimes whenever I want to go because I like getting there early and just doing the whole thing.
right.
It's gonna be so hot, and I was like, dude, it's part of the experience, though. And he's like, wait till you get my age, and it's like, I don't know what it is, just.
And that's like Indy. I mean, Indy's moving from a September weekend to July next year, and that's not going to be cool.
I mean, y'all's obviously summer heat's different than our summer heat, but
right. So yeah, that's not. And that
like
is
everyone used to always ask me, hey, let's go to Daytona, for the July race, because I got friends that live like in 45 minutes from Daytona. They were like, you can stay at the house. And I'm just thinking, I don't really know if I want to do July in Florida, If we had like a camper. So.
Well, yeah, I mean that's again. I mean,
it's one of those. Maybe do it 1 year just to kind of. Oh, I did it. You know what I mean?
Well, like the firecracker race always used to be in the heat of the afternoon, July 4th, before they put the lights in. And once they put the lights in, they moved it to night. So hopefully it'd be cooler and more people would come. And
see, that's the thing is like, I think sometimes like here locally in Charleston, sometimes to me the nights are muggier and hotter than the days.
Correct.
I mean, I know it sounds weird. That's just because I mean, like some mornings go outside, you work or whatever. And you're like, all right, cool. And then, like, say it's a Friday night, and you get invited to a cookout, and you walk outside. It's like, Jesus, it's like 1,000 times muggier now than what it was during the day.
Yep.
It's like, I don't think I'm gonna be sitting by the fire, yakking and having adult beverages. I'll be in the house. You just let me know when this is done.
There you go. So. All right, that's all I got for this week.
That's it for me.
Hopefully next
2 more weeks I'll go racing, boys, and then I'll have some race talk.
Don't know what Walker's up to. I texted him and everything, and he never got back to me. So
hopefully he's getting ready for the Worlds because that is.
I'm just worried about his sunburn.
He's good now. I've already been through. What all have I been through since the sunburn? I've went through a hurricane. I mean, what else is there?
I hear you.
Concerts.
You're a survivor. All right. So, magic word. I had thought of one earlier today for this show, and I was like, God, that's probably the perfect one. I can't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. Set screws.
Set screws?
Set screws.
That's your perfect word, or is that?
No, that wasn't it, but we'll just go with set screws.
Gotcha. Set screws it is.
Set screws it is. All right, so until next week, episode number 110 will be next week. So we'll have all the results from the USRA Wing Car Nats and the Sano race and OCC, right. Florida Slot Car Series.
Starting to get picked back up.
Yep. And the other races we announced earlier. So until next week, have a good weekend, a safe weekend. If you're going racing, good luck.
Yep.
See you next Wednesday.
Have a good night.